Where did the other mark? Okay, there we are. Now I'm going to do her skin. And I'm just using, this is EOO and EO2. Very, very pale. I'm not adding a lot of color or a lot of shading to her skin. I have another Copic class on here, and it's Copic Tips, Tricks, and Techniques that goes, covers skin a little bit more, as well as gives different color choices to get different skin tones for different ethnicities. And the other thing, you can go online as well. There's a lot of different information about Copics online to get different color combinations for different skin tones, which is great, as well as different hair colors, because there's so many different hair colors as well. So I just did the darker part on the outside, underneath her chin, underneath her arms here, a little bit where her shorts meet her legs, or her outfit meets her legs, and a little bit underneath her boots there. And now let's do her little outfit. So lightest color of green. Now, so there's a thick gray line there, and then there's none here. The thick gray line is this brush side, and it's, I always get it mixed up in my head that that should be the chisel side, but it's not. But for some reason, I always do the cap from the chisel side first. And I've been using Copics for over 15 years. I want to say it's probably closer to 20 years now. And I still do it. There we go. I'll add a little bit of shadow with the darker green. And there is a an image there to show the brush or the chisel side, so often you'll see me rolling it around and I'm looking for that image. I'm going to put a little bit of darker areas in the creases of the fabric. Now, as I said before, with the coloring, or with the using the Colorless Blender to fix, I was talking about how if you color over and over in the same area, it kind of goes out. I keep that in mind while I'm coloring as well. If I'm heavy-handed with the marker, it's just adding more ink to the paper and it's going to go outside the lines. So I'm careful to be fairly light-handed with it, especially when I'm coloring smaller areas, because I don't want that ink to go outside the lines. Now, the other thing that is fabulous with Copics, similar to using the Colorless Blender to remove color, when you take an opposite color or a different color from what you've just colored, for in this instance, I'm just using doing the polka dots on her skirt or on her little romper thing. By tapping down that marker, I'm getting little yellow dots and it's pushing the green away. So I see yellow, I don't see yellow green. So you can play with the markers and get some really, really pretty looks out of them. You can do the same with, say, the chisel and create bricks. You can use the chisel end stamping it onto a different color, and it moves that color and creates the look of bricks. So the last thing I want to do for coloring, and I'm using all three of the warm grays, is I'm going to give her a surface to be standing on. Otherwise it kind of looks like she's floating in the air. So I am using a bit of a circular motion. I don't want this to necessarily be like a line. I'm trying to kind of give it some shadow, give it just a little bit of movement. So I did the lightest color first, the medium color, and then I'm just going to go in with the darkest color in the middle of it. And this is a great way to kind of practice with those three colors. And now I'm going with the medium color back over to blend it out, and then I'm going to do the light color and blend it out further. And Copics take a little while to dry, so you may notice, you know, you're not really super happy with something while when you've just finished coloring it. Let it sit and dry, because often in the drying time it continues to blend. And it'll just look nicer once it's done and once it's dried up. All right, very last thing, and you might not even be able to see it. I've taken my lightest gray, C1, and I like to outline my markers. And this is something that people don't actually see until you point it out to them. But what it does is it gives it a little bit of a shadow, and it just makes your image jump off the page a little bit better. So I use the brush tip, and you don't have to be perfect with this at all. But I just outline the image. And when I say you don't have to be perfect with this at all, your brush tip is going to have a little bit of flexibility to it. It might be a little bit wider in some areas, lighter in some areas. That's fine. Like I said, this is such a light color that most people don't even notice it until you've pointed out to them. And I've done many Copic classes and worked in a store where I had a lot of samples, and would regularly need to point it out to people because they would ask about something or whatever, and it wasn't until I pointed it out to them that they even noticed. All right, so our image is colored. I'm going to let her dry for a few minutes, and then I'll see you in the next video and we'll put our card together.